It was a day that went borderline perfectly for the Golden State Warriors. Switch my audio input. Kylen, do I still sound okay?
You sound good, yes. Do I sound good? I got my mic here. You can't see it. But
in the middle of a cold open, but nonetheless, beautiful. Borderline perfect start for the Golden State Warriors and finish and day. The Warriors are the 6th seed. We're going to break down the playoffs and so much more next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Gametime. And look, we now know Saturday night on ABC will be Game 1 of the Warriors and Kings. Talking about tickets that you might want to use Gametime for, because that's not going to be an easy seat to find. But nonetheless, the Golden State Warriors finished the season. I've never been so excited over them finishing as a 6th seed in my entire life, but 6 was the magic number. We'll get into the why of that. Hello, everyone. Hello, Kylen. How are you doing? And Kylen, your reaction to the Warriors blowing out the Trailblazers by 56 points and getting the 6th seed.
Hello, doing well, and excited to be here talking about the Golden State Warriors victory and securing a playoff spot. This was huge. The Warriors absolutely need this week coming up. It is critical that they were able to avoid the play-in. One reason why this week is needed, first of all, just the team gets a chance to regroup. They get to practice. It's no secret the Warriors are among the older teams in the league, so that extra rest is critical. Also, that gives extra time for Andrew Wiggins to get back in shape and work back into this lineup. So that's one thing I'm super excited about. Wiggins making a return in the playoffs and now having this entire extra week to try to get his body right, get his body ready, scrimmage as much as possible with the Warriors, and to be 100% back come Game 1 of this playoff matchup. So super excited the Dubs avoided the play-in. I think this is critical, like I said, for that reason alone, just the chance that Wiggins can work back into this group and has a full week now to rest, prepare. For him, the rest of the team resting. For Wiggins, it's going to be ramping up this week. So I think that's super exciting. The Warriors, this is the first time this season the Warriors are going to be at full go. Yeah. Like the only injuries right now on the roster are Ryan Rollins, who has not played a lot this season anyway, the rookie, who essentially, is on G League assignment all season. And then Andre Iguodala, who I was skeptical about contributing at all when the season started, just due to his age and how much he was injured last year. So you've got 13 healthy guys. Andrew Wiggins back in the mix. I think that this is absolutely an exciting time to be cheering on the Warriors. And I like this first round matchup. I know we're going to talk about it more, but today's game, the Dubs did what they needed to do. I mean, the Trailblazers had 8-9 guys out. It was not looking good for them. I'm glad the Warriors took care of business, though, did it in dominant fashion and earned themselves the extra week off. And ultimately, I think the 6th seed over the 5 seed actually is going to be favorable for the Warriors.
Absolutely. Let's get into it right now. I mean, and there isn't much to talk about in this game other than they won by 56 points. They set a NBA record for most points in the opening quarter, breaking their own mark, and in the process scoring 55 points. Klay Thompson passed the 300 made three-pointers mark in this game in the first quarter, in fact, finishing with 6. He has 301 on his career, only the 3rd player in NBA history to do so. After Steph and Curry, and I think, was it Dame Lillard? Is he the other one? I actually can't remember off the top of my head.
Sounds right, but I'm not positive either.
Yeah, I'm not either. I'm sorry about that. But I know Klay Thompson becomes the 3rd to do so, leads the NBA in three-pointers made. And I guess when we're playing sound, let's first go to Klay because we now know, again, they're the 6th seed. They're playing the Sacramento Kings in the first round. The first game will be Saturday night, an ABC nationally televised broadcast, already getting pumped for that. And why don't we listen to Klay Thompson talking about the matchup with the Kings this Saturday. Klay Thompson, this season's 3-point champion.
In Sac, what's that going to be like to you, the 2 no-call rivalry fan bases?
Oh, that's who we're playing?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's going to be fun, man. First time in NBA history. It's going to be really special. Now, I know the Kings fans will be excited. I haven't been in the playoffs in a while, so they'll be very excited. But that's just great. I mean, great for the NBA, great for Northern California. We And it's great for us. We don't have to travel too far, which is very nice because sometimes, flying across the country every other day is exhausting.
Yeah, and they avoid the flights. Thank you to the people in the chat for saying James Harden was the other player, and that is correct. Yeah, the Clippers game was close. For a long time, they trailed in that game. So people, you, me, everyone else were thinking, wow, it might end up being the Suns. That is not a matchup I was looking forward to. And it's not just the fact that this, let me know if you agree or disagree with this assessment. It wasn't just that the Warriors get to play the Kings in the first round instead of the Phoenix Suns. They now play the winner of 2 versus 7 in the second round. And why don't I show this graphic for the people watching on YouTube who get to see the entire playoff scenario here. I don't know if you can see this, but the play-in, which will start, I believe, on Tuesday, will feature the Lakers.
Yep,
is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and that's going to feature the 7-8 battle will be Lakers and Timberwolves. The winner of that game will get the 7 seed. They play the Memphis Grizzlies in the opening round. And the loser of that game will play the winner of 9-10, the Pelicans and the Thunder. And the winner of that game will determine who is the 8th seed. But the point is, in my humble opinion, I thought it was a much easier path for the Golden State Warriors, not just to have the Kings in the first round, but now you're likely going to face the the Grizzlies in the second round, a team you've already beaten just a year ago in the same round, a team that you can beat. They have the psychological edge. And I think just as important, Steven Adams is out for the playoffs. Brandon Clark is out for the playoffs. I know this kid, Kenny Lofton Jr., they brought in from the G League Player of the Year. He's formidable as a big, but not formidable enough to worry me in terms of the Warriors finding success. And then you play the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. And yes, I do think the Nuggets will reach the Western Conference Finals, but I'd much rather play them in the Western Conference Finals with Wiggins having 2 playoff rounds to get his conditioning back, to get his rhythm back, and in general, just having this team really find their confidence in terms of winning on the road, because they're going to have to be road warriors given they're the 6th seed. I said before the season, this team reminds me a lot of the Houston Rockets. I have a very similar vibe. The Rockets' second championship team, they were also a 6th seed. But ultimately, to me, Kings, Grizzlies, Nuggets is a lot easier than, say, Suns, Clippers, or Clippers, or I don't know. Is that who they would have played, I guess, in the second round? Oh, no. Second round would have been Nuggets.
Played the Nuggets.
Yeah, which I don't like at a sooner later. Sorry, I'm tired. And then whoever they play in the Western Conference Finals. I think this is a much easier path. And by the way, for someone in the chat, Andre, he kept saying Warriors in 5. I'm going to say Warriors in 6 with the Kings. That's my prediction. I feel strongly about it just because I think they're going to win Game 6 at Chase Center. So that's my spiel. Your thoughts, Kylen?
My spiel is that I completely agree. And the thing is, I know this will be construed as being in some way disrespectful to the Kings, and that is not my intention at all. I agree with your prediction, actually. I think the Warriors take the Kings. I think 6 games is a good guess. But I think this is a much more favorable matchup than the Phoenix Suns. I'm sorry, but I'm just going to say it. And then in terms of that second round, like you mentioned, I completely agree. I like the Grizzlies matchup much better than the Nuggets. Now, that's not to say that anything's a given. I'm not saying that anything's necessarily going to be easy. So by no means am I saying that. I'm just saying when you look at which one's going to be more favorable for the Warriors based on how these 2 teams performed, who they have personnel-wise, the styles of the game, I completely agree. I think that Kings-Grizzlies looks much better for the Warriors than Suns-Nuggets.
I'm totally with you. And again, I'm already feeling confident in 6. Some people are saying 5 could happen. I do think the Warriors will beat the Kings though in the first round. I'm confident of that. No disrespect to the Kings, right? And in fact, we'll talk about that when we come back, because I've already seen the sights of how the Warriors are going to beat the Kings. I just think this is a fantastic matchup for Golden State, and it's not going to be a great matchup for Sacramento. We'll talk about that and so much more when we come back. Got to give some love first. Who is our first sponsor? Gametime. A phenomenal source to let me stop sharing first of all. We got to get an overlay here. I am so tired. I'm sorry. My dog pissed the bed at 5 a.m. last night, or earlier than that, but I didn't go to bed till like 6 because I was cleaning a bed that has piss in it. Anyway, so I'm sorry. My brain is just mush right now. Gametime, new sponsor for us. They're all about finding tickets for you to games that you may otherwise struggle finding tickets for. Perfect example, if you want to use Game Time, Saturday night, more specifically, in Sacramento. It's going to be game 1 of the Kings and the Warriors. Those are probably really hard tickets to find, but this is where Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. They're phenomenal. Their entire premise is you getting the best price, you getting availability, and if you find tickets in, let's say, the same section and row for less money than what you pay on Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference in price. They have a low price guarantee that includes event cancellation protection. Don't have to worry about that for the Warriors Kings. But regardless, Game Time is the way to go. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. Why don't we listen to Draymond Green talking about the playoffs? And after that, Kylen, you and I should also talk about Draymond Green's tweet, because he did a little subtle subtweeting today, taking a jab at a certain Timberwolves player who punched one of his teammates. We got to talk about that in a little bit. But first, here is Draymond Green saying that your team's going to be judged by not what you do in the regular season, but by the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I was on a team that won 73 games, and we lost the final game of the season, and no one talks about that team. So, moral of the story is it does not matter what you do in the regular season. You get to the playoffs, your team will be judged by how you do in the playoffs. No one will be talking about, oh, they won this many road games or that. No one will care. So just got to go in and take care of, executing the game plan, not making some of the mistakes that we've made throughout this regular season, really being locked in and focused and understanding the road ahead and knowing what it takes will help.
There you go. Your thoughts, Kylen, on Draymond Green's comments about the Kings, about the postseason, and maybe dive into that tweet as well if you want to.
Yeah. I mean, some people are already bringing up the tweets in our chat. Douglas Mike says Draymond is a clown for clapping back at Gobert. And Draymond Green tweeted saying that insecurity is always loud. Was that the exact quote?
Yeah.
I don't have the tweet up. I just was looking at some stats, but insecurity is always
Correct.
loud. And he was, and apparently, now you told me the backstory to this because I hadn't been aware of it previously, that Rudy Gobert had tweeted that and somehow referencing Draymond following a game earlier in the season. And then Draymond responded to that in regards to Rudy Gobert getting thrown out of the Jazz game after he threw a punch at a teammate. It was caught on film and now is circulating on Twitter and going viral. So, I don't know if you think that some people apparently in the chat think that Draymond maybe shouldn't have even touched that or that it was classless. I don't know, but it is what it is. It's sports. I personally love when Draymond claps back at people. I think it's hilarious. So that's my 2 cents.
No, I
on
agree,
it.
man. People are just, I don't believe in being uptight. I don't like being uptight. So what if Draymond clapped back? He's having fun, man. Lighten up, people. I think it was hilarious and funny. And that's what Draymond Green did. And yes, the Timberwolves had an unusual day today because Rudy Gobert is sent into the locker room after he punches his teammate Kyle Anderson. After numerous teammates, Karl Anthony Towns included, were criticizing Gobert for not falling back defensively to help. Gobert decides he's had enough, throws like a super weak punch. Immediately after the punch, kind of backs up and runs away, goes to the locker room soon after that. And then his teammate, who was it, Jaden McDaniels? Is that his name? Punched a wall in the same game and broke his hand. Which is just insane. So that was the drama going on there in Minnesota Timberwolves land. But it's the Warriors and the Kings. And I'm going to
Did I say Jazz? I meant Timberwolves. Oh my
That's
God.
right.
Wow. Talk about being
That's right.
tired.
Yeah, we're both our brains are both fried today, so apologies in advance, folks.
Yeah, I woke up at 5 a.m. 2 consecutive days. Today was the first day I didn't. I slept 12 hours last night.
Woo!
And you know how when you sleep a long time that you get like bad brain fog? Like that's me today. My brain has been like moving super
Oh, I'm
slow.
with you. Believe me, I'm with you.
Anyways, yeah, sorry. I meant the Wolves. The Timberwolves game, it was a mess. And that video, if you want to look it up, it's on Twitter. It was a weak punch. I like that you mentioned that. It was a weak punch, and someone else also pointed out that he like backed away and ran away after the fact.
Yeah, he did.
And
He did. Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of a weak move to me, but whatever.
So Warriors Kings, and let me know, Kylen, if you think or what you think about my reasoning for why the Warriors are going to take care of business. It could even be 5 games. I just don't know if the Warriors are going to win. A 5-game series is going to require the Warriors to win twice in Sacramento. I just don't know if the Warriors are there yet as a road team. Maybe they are. But the Sacramento Kings' success relies so largely on De'Aaron Fox, who, by the way, I gave love to in MVP voting, and in another show, Kyle and you and I will reveal who we voted for in the first annual Locked On NBA Awards. But De'Aaron Fox, I gave him love in the regular season awards. He deserves it. The Sacramento Kings finished as the 3rd best team in the Western Conference. Sabonis deserves the accolades. But the truth of the matter is the Sacramento Kings are still one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. And offensively, if you shut down De'Aaron Fox, if you shut down Sabonis, and you shut down Herter, the Kings will not beat you. That is their offense. That is the core of it. And the Warriors have answers for that. De'Aaron Fox, who's going to guard him? I don't know. Gary Payton II, Dante DiVincenzo, who basically is this year's Otto Porter Jr., and is a fantastic defender, just slightly shorter than what Otto Porter Jr. was. But they have the personnel. Sabonis, who's going to guard him? I don't know. Draymond Green, one of the greatest defenders in the history of the game. Not to mention Wiggins will be back for this series, and he's a fantastic defender. Herter, who's going to defend him? Anyone. The Warriors their identity is defense. Even if they had a subpar season this year defensively, even though they ramped it up toward the end of the year and the numbers are not as bad as they were early on, and we'll cover all those details in future shows. The Warriors defense will be able to handle the Sacramento Kings as good as they are. And then on the other side of it, how are the Kings going to stop the Warriors? How is Sabonis going to stop anyone? De'Aaron Fox is not known for being a notoriously great defender. And they're going to pick on him to wear him down so that he's not as efficient offensively. And shooting percentages across the board go down in the playoffs. I don't know if the Kings have the shooting that can sustain their offense in the postseason when buckets are a lot harder to find. I just think this is the perfect matchup for the Warriors. I think they're going to just pick on Sabonis and Fox defensively, wear them down on that side of the ball, so that on the other side, they're not as effective offensively, referring again to Fox and Sabonis. And then look, the Warriors have Steph and Curry. Klay Thompson is playing at the peak of his offensive powers, and he's doing okay defensively. Wiggins is coming back. Looney is one of the premier centers in the game now. Draymond Green is still at the peak of his powers. Never mind the bench that has suddenly arisen. Jonathan Kuminga looks amazing. Moses Moody's probably going to get some time, and he had a fantastic game today with 25 points. So I'm confident, incredibly confident, that the Golden State Warriors will take care of business against the Sacramento Kings. And that's just a small picture of why I think that's the case. I also don't think the Kings have the depth to carry themselves deep into the playoffs. I know I'm coming off like a Kings hater. I apologize for that, Sac fans. But just the Warriors, I think, are just a far superior team, and they're going to win this series, I think, in 6, maybe 5, but 6 is my prediction. Kylen, do you want to answer your turn in terms of who's going to play, in terms of the matchup, or do you want to do a commercial first? What are you thinking?
We'll tease that. I'll have my thoughts on the matchup after. I just have been looking at my phone because I've been looking at a couple different stats and trying to find some statistical evidence to back up my points. But we'll do that coming up in just a moment after the break.
Sounds good.
Quick ad break.
Absolutely. And first, we're going to talk about
That's the tease.
Yeah, the perfect tease. And first, we're going to talk about Built Bar, a sponsor who we have no copy for, and the network is just relying on our memory. And look, all I can tell you about Built Bar is if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to build muscle, it is the way to go, because despite the incredibly yummy flavors like cookies and cream, churro, the peanut butter flavors, they also only have on average 4 grams of sugar. they also only have on average 130 calories, yet they're packing on average 17 grams of protein per bar. They taste good. They make you feel full. So if you're trying not to eat too much to lose weight, it does the job, especially for those late night munchies in case that you're struggling with that. And they're available in stores. Whether you go to Walmart, whether you go to Sam's Club, you can buy a box of 4 bars, a box of 13 bars. And of course, you can go visit their website, built.com. Try it today. Built. It is yummy and kind of good for you. I think it's really good for you, at least.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow Kylen Mills on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I don't know if I did that earlier. Promote your social media channels at Kylen Mills. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at DogSurfRocho. Kylen, your thoughts on Warriors-Kings immediate reaction opening round?
I'm excited about it because, as I mentioned, I think this is going to be an advantageous matchup for the Warriors. Just looking back at how these two teams finished throughout the season, Warriors went 3-1 in the matchup. That one loss came in November, early to mid-November. I can't remember the exact date. I was just trying to look up that information, but that was very early in the season, and the Warriors struggled. Like, that first month and a half was absolutely brutal. I mean, they just came out the gate. I think there is something to be said for that championship hangover and the slow start to the season. They didn't have a long time in the offseason, lost a couple of key role players in the offseason. We're still really struggling to figure out that rotation that's going to work and to solidify that second unit. And so that's one reason why I feel like the Warriors ended up losing that game. But the fact that they've won the last 3 matchups, and then also looking back at that game, the loss, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson combine on average for more than 51 points when the Warriors do win. They combine for 43 points in that matchup. And I think that when Klay and Steph are playing at their best, they are unstoppable. I mean, it is so difficult for any defense to lock down not one, but 2 great 3-point shooters. And the Warriors are the second best 3-point shooting team in the NBA. Not to lock down 1, but to lock down 2. Then you've also got Jordan Poole, had a nice performance today, put up some big numbers. Dante DiVincenzo can knock down threes from outside the line. And you look at the Warriors playing against one of the bottom 8 defenses in the NBA. I just think it's going to be too much for the Kings. The Warriors haven't played well defensively on the road, but at home, they've actually played good defense, and their defensive rating is still like middle of the pack to just over the middle of the pack in the NBA. Kings are much, much lower. And like I said, the big issue for the Warriors has been road defense more than home defense. Their home defensive numbers are actually still strong. They're one of the best defenses in the NBA the last couple of seasons. So I think if it comes down to 2 teams that can score a lot of points, whose defense is going to hold up better? I feel like the Warriors are in a better position. They also added Gary Payton II after the All-Star break, and he's been injured. So he's just been mixed back into the lineup. So the Warriors should have a much improved defense. They've been playing without Andrew Wiggins since the All-Star break. So there you have 2 of the Warriors' best defensive players just coming back and being reintegrated into the lineup. So to me, the Warriors defense should be much improved from where they were earlier in the season or even just midway through the season. Your 2 best defenders are coming back. And to me, that's going to be critical, as you mentioned, shutting down De'Aaron Fox, shutting down Domantas Sabonis. But when you bring in those guys, the Warriors, I mean, it's just crazy to me. The Warriors have been playing without Andrew Wiggins since the All-Star break.
Wow.
Their best 3-and-D guy, 2-way player. I know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
Their best, he played 1 game after the All-Star break, and then is when he took his personal leave. So, you know, your best 2-way player, 3-and-D guy, one of your best defenders, who typically is that lockdown player guarding the opponent's best player, he hasn't been playing with the Warriors at all. So you're putting him back in the mix. So I just feel good that the Warriors defense is going to hold up better than the Kings, which have had one of the worst defenses in the NBA. And I think both these teams are teams that can score a lot of baskets. So I am very excited.
Yeah, I'm super excited as well. And again, that starts Saturday. I was just checking out the FanDuel Sportsbook, and the line has not come out yet for that series. I'm very curious to see what the odds makers or how the odds makers feel about Warriors Kings. I want to mention this as well. In terms of personal accomplishments, the Golden State Warriors are the first team in NBA history to have 3 backcourt players average 20 or more points per game simultaneously in a single season. Stephen Curry finished the year averaging 29.4 points per game, still going strong at 35. Klay Thompson finished the season averaging 21.9 points per game. And then Jordan Poole averaged 20.4, which is those are fantastic numbers. So kudos to the Golden State Warriors for that. We saw JaMychal Green in today's game. Do you think that means anything? Does that mean that he's out of the doghouse and that he might play in the postseason? Any thoughts on the postseason rotations, Kylen?
Yeah, I do have a few thoughts on the rotations as well as what we saw today. I know we didn't talk too much about today's game. To be honest, it was kind of a snooze fest, 50 plus points. I mean, not a lot to get super excited about down the stretch other than the Warriors dominating. Is I like what we saw from Moses Moody. And I know he's a player we talked about a lot, but I think he could be used in certain situations in the postseason. I think he's earned some more opportunities, and I hope he gets one at that right time in a rotation in the playoffs. And remember last year, like Steve Kerr trusted him to insert him in postseason games in like the fourth quarter. But I was very impressed with Moses Moody's play today. I can't remember what his final numbers were. I tweeted them out, but like 25 points. He was a team best plus 39, had a couple of rebounds, a couple of assists, or one really pretty like no look over the head pass to Anthony Lamb, who was cutting down the lane. So that was another thought I had on today's game that I'd wanted to mention. In terms of JMG, I don't dislike him either, given certain situations, or just depending on the matchup, because he does give the Warriors size. When he's hitting threes, he also can help spread the floor. So I'm not opposed to JMG being up for discussion. I don't know why he's been DNP'd so often lately. I actually thought he was starting to play better. And I personally like him over Anthony Lamb in certain situations. So we'll just have to see. But when you look at the playoff rotation, I mean, to me, obvious. Off the bench, you've got Dante DiVincenzo, and this is with Andrew Wiggins back. So again, like this is a Warriors team that is going to be stronger than we've seen them this entire second half of the season. So you've got Andrew Wiggins back in the starting lineup. I like the Warriors starters. They won the championship last season. Don't fix it if it's not broken. If, and this is a big if, Andrew Wiggins is back in 100%, because I know a week still, who knows how his body responds when getting back into, that full go playing. With Andrew Wiggins healthy, let's say, if we're looking at 2 weeks from now where the Warriors are at, I hope that it is that same starting lineup. Then off the bench, you've got Dante DiVincenzo, no brainer. Jordan Poole, no brainer. To me, Jonathan Kuminga has earned himself a spot, and they need the size and athleticism of Jonathan Kuminga. Yeah. I actually have talked to some people fans, media members, maybe who are like, I don't know that I 100% trust Jonathan Kuminga because he has had some off games. Yeah, but I disagree with that. I think that Jonathan Kuminga absolutely has to be in that rotation. And then you've got Gary Payton II, lockdown defender. They're going to need his perimeter defense, especially against some of these Kings guards. So I think that already there you go. That's 9 players. And you look at that 9, and I think it's a great 9 compared to last season. For example, like maybe Otto Porter Jr. would have been in that 9. I think Jonathan Kuminga is now in that group, and he can help fill that void in terms of size. Now, I've been one to say all season that I still am a little concerned the Warriors don't have a backup center, but if they stay healthy, Kevon Looney, please do not let anything happen to you. Draymond Green, do not let anything happen to you. Jonathan Kuminga, do not let anything happen to you, because that's my only concern is looking at the second unit of Gary Payton II, Dante DiVincenzo, Jordan Poole, like that's a small group. And that's where I think that JMG could absolutely come in handy and be very useful. Again, I don't know why he hasn't gotten almost any playing time late in the season, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. Like, would you be opposed to seeing JMG to provide some of that size in the postseason?
No, I've been perplexed as well over Kerr's decision to DNP him, and Kerr addressed it. He was asked about it, and he said with Gary Payton II back, JaMychal Green was the initial casualty in terms of minute distribution, but then that game where Anthony Lamb started, I think that was Kerr's eye-opening moment where he was like, yeah, I don't know about him being a rotation piece in the postseason. I'm glad he figured that out before the season ended. I'm absolutely back on board the Steve Kerr train, and I would like to see JaMychal Green. He's a veteran. He has size. He's 6'9" and he's strong, right? So at a minimum, for rebounding purposes, for shot blocking purposes, he still spaces the floor as a 3-point threat. People will not abandon him, and he's not a bad 3-point shooter. He's just dealing with that wrist injury that makes him somewhat inconsistent from beyond the arc. No, but I absolutely love it, and I wouldn't mind Moses Moody getting some minutes in the postseason. He did start, I think, 3 games last year in the Western Conference Finals against Dallas. So if he gets minutes, again, that 7'1" wingspan defensively helps. He's starting to show what he can do offensively. He's much more athletic than people have given him credit for. He's explosive. He's a terrific player. By the way, seeing Lester Quinones out there today, I think the future is bright for that player as well. The future is just bright, period. There's so many young players on this team to be excited for in 3, 4, 5 years. But in the present, the Warriors are pursuing a world championship. Few things to wrap things up here. Again, the play-in schedule starts Tuesday. It's going to be Hawks and Heat for the early game, Timberwolves and Lakers for the second game. And then on Wednesday, it's going to be the Bulls at the Raptors, followed by the Thunder at New Orleans. And then on Friday, you'll have the final game to determine the 8th seed, and that's going to be the loser of the Minnesota Lakers game versus the winner of the Thunder Pelicans game. That's going to be your 8th seed in the West. And then for the East, it's going to be the loser of the Heat Hawks game versus the winner of the Raptors Bulls game. And that's going to determine who's going to be the 8th seed. But yeah, what a season, Kylen. This is just an absolutely wild and insane year. And here we are.
Steve Kerr described it as tumultuous in the post game today, and he's absolutely right. It's been tumultuous. It's been a roller coaster ride, but with this Warriors team and the veterans they have, if they can get that momentum going now and click now, sky's the limit. You never know.
Absolutely.
I never count out the Warriors.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my prediction is Warriors in 6 for the opening round. I've been saying this for a while. I'm confident about it. Do you have a prediction for the Warriors Kings?
As far as scores or I think Warriors in 6, and I like that prediction. I, again, don't mean to discredit the Kings, but I think the Warriors have the edge in this matchup. I think they have the experience in this matchup. I think the Warriors vets are going to come and show up to play, which is something they haven't done necessarily in the regular season, but they know it's go time. This is a group that knows how to turn it on. They have a lot of experience. They have postseason experience as opposed to this Kings group that is going to be experiencing a lot of this for the first time.
Absolutely.
And I think it does make a difference. Knowing how to win and close out postseason series is a different skill. It's a different feel, and it's a completely different environment than what you deal with in the regular season. So I do think having that experience in those situations is going to make a difference for the Warriors.
I totally agree. I'm excited. The real season starts. The Warriors Invitational. That's a nickname a lot of people give it. And by the way, on a totally other note, again, we've talked about hyping this show up in terms of increasing subscribers, because the more subscribers we have, the bigger, Kylen, your role in this show. So we mentioned that if we get to 8,000 subscribers, Kylen, you're going to be with me 3 days a week. If you want, of course. And then if we get to 10,000 subscribers, 4 days, 12,000, you and I are permanent co-hosts 5 days a week. Again, if you want that. So right now, the number's growing. We're at 7,120 subscribers. So we're getting there. All right, Kylen, are you up for it? Are you gonna have the energy and time?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I told you I'm in. So keep subscribing, keep sharing. Someone just asked in the chat if Curry finished the season 50, 40, 90. So I was trying to look it up because he was very close, but his field goal percentage I know was right around 4. It was lingering under 50. Did he get it?
No, he did not get it. He just missed it. His final percentages, I'll pull that up right now. No, I heard Bob Fitzgerald kind of comment on that as well. He finished this season shooting 49.2% from the field. So his free throw.
Ooh, that's what I was saying. I knew that field goal percentage was going to be the issue because he was very close.
Yeah, he just missed out. But nonetheless, look, for Stephen Curry, he's 35 years old, still at the peak of his powers. And this postseason for me, a huge reason why this season has been frustrating in a lot of regards, given how much they struggled, is I am just clamoring for Stephen Curry to get that 5th title, because if he gets ring number 5, it puts him in a stratosphere with such few other players in terms of all-time greatness. He's on Mount Rushmore, in my humble opinion, as the best point guard in NBA history. The stakes are high in terms of legacy, and I want to see Steph reach that. And he's still at the peak of his powers. I'm so stoked for him. Before we go, and thank you, Angelou Roy, for the very.
Thank you, Angelou.
Yeah, a few chats real quick. I want to get to before we leave. Joshua Pickett wrote, "Why do you guys think Mike Brown sat his starters against the Dubs but played them all today?" Kylen, do you have an answer for that or any opinions?
That's actually a good question, because I did notice that, and because you'd have to assume against the Warriors, since they locked in that 3rd seed, and they pretty much knew at that point the 2nd seed was out of hand, that there would be no reason, and they wanted to rest DeMontis. You mentioned Kevin and De'Aaron Fox. My only thought is that he wanted them to get a little bit of momentum and chemistry before the playoffs. I mean, like you mentioned that as being a factor with the Suns, for example, Cyrus, since they haven't played together a lot, which I could see, but it doesn't really make sense because the Kings haven't had the level of injury issues like the Suns have had. We're like literally, and especially with Kevin Durant just joining the team, in February, him not being healthy. So that entire group really hasn't played together for any stretch. That's not the case with the Kings. So I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, someone just commented gamesmanship more than likely. And yeah, I mean, I guess gamesmanship. Who knows? But I am very excited. And we didn't even get to touch on Mike Brown facing Steve Kerr
Right?
now in the postseason, a year after taking over the Kings as the head coach. He should be the coach of the
Agreed.
year. I do think that given his coaching ability and given how familiar these two coaches are with each other, I'm very curious to see who comes out on top and what should be a chess match, because these are two great coaches in the NBA. And Mike Brown was a huge factor in the Warriors' postseason success. He came up with a lot of schemes. He was involved in a lot of what the Warriors did to win last year's championship, especially. You people forget, and I know people actually criticized Mike Brown briefly, but when Steve Kerr went out with COVID last year in the postseason,
Oh, yeah.
Mike Brown had to lead the
You're right.
group, and some people are like, "Oh, the Warriors didn't look as good under him."
I
Whatever.
forgot all about that.
But like he had to step in, and I remember during his interview, Mike Brown didn't find out until like game time, like before the game, that he'd like step in for Steve Kerr with COVID. Like it was like a last minute decision. So, anyways, my point is just that I think these two coaches know each other well. They're two great coaches, and that's going to make this a lot of fun.
Totally. And another thing to add to that is also, besides the gamesmanship aspect, is the Kings just 2 days earlier had played back-to-back games. So given that they learned before the start of that game that the 3rd seed was locked in, they had nothing really to play for. I think part of the decision making also was, why risk injury? Let's just rest our important players, give them some reps for the Sunday game, and then Saturday the real season begins. So Fal Sharpton, indica all day, just because I'm not a daytime puffer. I don't want to be functional. And sativa is just a waste of money in my humble opinion, but that's just me. Anything else, Kylen, before we wrap it up? Anything we should be touching on? Are we good? We ready?
Nope.
There we go.
It.
So thank you everyone for joining us. Congratulations to the Golden State Warriors. They got the 6th seed. That's the one that they really needed. Bruce Morrow writes, "Do I like Kerr again? I never disliked Kerr. We just had a very fundamental difference regarding who should be playing this year." And I'll add this: if the Warriors win a 5th title this year, you're never going to hear me criticize Kerr again on this show. Ever. He will be persona amazing to me if this happens. So
if he does it this year, this will be the best coaching job of his freaking career.
Easily.
So I'll support that.
And plus, again, what I'm seeing now, I'm fine with. Like, he's playing the players that I thought he should have been playing all season. Moody's getting his reps. We saw JaMychal Green today. I'm actually happy with him. So
no Anthony Lamb. I know you were a fan of that too.
Yeah, exactly. So,
not until garbage time, anyway.
Exactly. So, and yes, Fal Sharpton, we will cover the NBA the finals this year. Well, it's a daily show no matter what. So count on seeing us a lot. Thank you so much, everyone. Kylen, thank you. Get some rest. I'm going to get some rest as well. Go Warriors, and we'll be back at it all week. So follow us on Twitter at LockedOnDubs to find out who the guests are, what time we're going to be hosting. Until then, congrats to the Warriors, 6th seed. That's what they wanted. And Kylen, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Go Warriors.